Speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Speaking Moistly. I'm Greg Wycliffe, and here is the one and only Mark Peralvis. How you doing, Mark?
Greg, thank you for the intro, sir. Good, man. How are you doing? I'm here at my new Sugar Shack.
I love it.
My background. It's yeah. Well, thought I'd stretch out a little.
Yeah. It's a nice place. I'll have to stop by sometime.
With the economy's great. We just thought we can afford this.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just been shoveling a lot the past day. We got
holy
dumped on
smoke
here in Toronto. Yeah,
you're not wrong. Yeah, we just got yesterday. We shoveled out the driveway in the morning. Well, morning-ish, mid-morning, thinking, okay, it's not going to be too much more snow now. It looks like it's lightening up. And then I came out after, like we finished up around maybe 11:30. Came out after, and then there was at least 5 more centimeters, and I'm like, that's enough that I have to shovel this again. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And even this morning too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a nice reminder, though. Nice reminder of living in Canada. Because for those who don't know, in southeastern Ontario, we get winter. We don't get winter like maybe Saskatchewan or like out east gets winter. This is the first big dump that we've had in years, I would say. Like 50 centimeters in some places or more.
Some places got that much. Yeah. In one go it was more snowy last year. We had a much snowier last year. Generally I was out tobogganing with my kids like a bunch more than we're able to this year. So, but yeah, I mean, did you see the is staffing issues on our list to talk about today? Did you see?
We're talking about, we'll go over the topics real quick.
Yeah,
so we're talking about scared teachers in British Columbia. They're scared that kids aren't wearing masks. Grown adults. We have boosted athletes. You can imagine what that might be about. And then, of course, we have the trucker strike that's being aggressively rumored. I've heard this from a lot of different people. Yeah. But we can touch on the snow.
Yeah.
Storm, because I think there's a natural segue into the trucking.
Yeah. We'll just talk about the snow quickly, but not usually in what was it? The Mel Lastman years, I think it was. Were you around when the military got called in because we got snowed out? Right? Do you remember? Everybody made fun of Mel.
I was around for the ice storm of '98.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that one.
When I'm not familiar. They brought in
the
military
you can't remember
to deal with snow.
Yeah, in Toronto, everybody made fun of Toronto. I think it was Mel Lastman, but it could have been somebody else.
What year is this?
I can't remember now, but I remember. I'm gonna have to look it up. Now you put me on the spot.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I gotta look it up. But
look it up.
But the Toronto calls in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because I saw all the social media posts of people in Toronto talking about the snow, and I'm thinking, I bet there's so many Canadians in rural Canada who are just like, look at these Torontonians acting like this is the first time snow has ever come to Canada.
It was 19.
And I just want to be clear. I recognize that as a Torontonian. I totally recognize that we are babies. We think the world revolves around us. It's true. It's real. It's a real thing, and I'm not proud of it. Okay, but it is a real phenomenon nonetheless.
It was 1999, and there is no. 99. Oh, but there may be a Wayback Machine. We're going to see if there's an archived version. But Toronto called in the military in order to deal with snow, so it's not unprecedented. But they shut down the Gardiner, they shut down the DVP,
right?
And I just think that that's wild. Like that. I mean, but maybe that's just a thing that happens every 20 years or so.
Yeah. This was the biggest snowfall. Like it set a record, I think, for like not set a record, but it was the biggest snowfall in like a decade or two, I think they said. But yeah, no, one of the highlights of my day yesterday was, hello?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm just sharing the screen really quick. Oh, can I do that? Oh no. Sorry. My bad. Stop share.
It kind of looks like a mess over here. Sorry.
Sorry. My bad.
But, I was going to say, one of the highlights of my day yesterday was actually just tuning into AM 680, which is it's like news and weather.
Yeah.
And they're like, no one's moving on the DVP, no one's moving on the Gardiner, no one's moving on these are all the major highways in Toronto. Like no one was moving anywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't a highlight. It was just kind of like, it was almost like a nostalgic thing to like, you
Yep.
know, it reminds me of being a kid and you listen to the radio in the morning and it's
Yep.
like, oh, we're all snowed in. Um,
But now the lucky kids get to go to online school.
oh my God, man.
Yeah, I know. Wah, wah. It's terrible. I
But-
mean, don't do that to your kids. Catherine McKenna tweeted out
Mhm.
like, "Oh, my kids weren't so enthusiastic about it. Why couldn't it have just been a snow day?" And I was like, if you were a good parent, it would have been a snow day. You just say, "Nah, it's a snow day. Don't worry about it."
Yeah. But I personally, with the snow, I made a couple of stupid jokes online just to kind of just poke at the environmentalists and the green energy, because it's like, you know, it's during a snowstorm. It's a great time to remind people like windmills, solar panels wouldn't get us anywhere in the middle
No.
of a snowstorm like this.
No.
Okay. You know what would? Gas and diesel powered
Mhm.
vehicles and trucks.
Yep.
That is
Yep.
the only thing that
Yep.
is going to quickly and effectively help us deal with this snowstorm. And just a
Yep.
reminder, whether
And
it's,
snowstorms happen.
you know, whether it's a Green Party enthusiast, whether it's Justin Trudeau himself, we need that oil and gas to move on with our lives and, quite frankly, survive in this climate.
Mhm.
So let's go into the truckers, because
Yeah.
what else do we need to survive? We need trucks
Well, everything.
to deliver everything, most notably food to survive. There's a lot of other things that we need
So-
from truckers, but you know,
We'll have now, if all the truckers park their rigs all across Canada, then grocery stores will quickly run out. But I don't know that that's the threat. I think the threat is no cross-border truckers are going across the border. What I've heard is Schneider's has shut down their operations in Canada. There are U.S. firms who don't want to enact a vaccine mandate, so they're not sending anybody to Canada. Firms that would send people from Canada shipping wood and bringing steel back for, you know, finishing or whatever. I don't know what. There was a guy whose story I used. He's not doing his run anymore. So there's a lot of economic activity. If you are part of a shop that makes things, there's not going to be trucks who are showing up to take your stuff to market in the United States anymore. So like there's going to be lots of choke points. I don't know how long this can go on necessarily. Talking about, well, I mean, our poultry and stuff, that's all trucked. Do you think that's going to stop? Like poultry, eggs, milk, is that going to stop? I don't think so. And if it does stop, they have to kill the chickens and dump the milk, like literally just dump it into the ground. So is that what we're looking at? I hope not.
I don't know, quite frankly, what we're looking at, because it's one of those things where I'm looking online and I'm seeing and hearing a lot of different things, and I don't really know what to believe. Like I'm seeing short TikTok videos of truckers who are saying that we're all gonna go on strike on January 23rd. I'm hearing that it's just a mandate that's going to affect just the border. So I don't know. And then right on screen, what I have here is from Canada-Unity.com
Yeah, they're showing the routes.
/bear hug, which is like this, Operation Bear Hug, #Bear Hug 2.0. And like, there's all these specific routes for truckers. And then here you go. There's a GoFundMe that's raised almost $300,000.
Yeah.
And I believe it's to fight the mandates, right? To fight these vaccine
all
mandates. Yeah, all of them, right?
Yep.
So I'm excited about this, but I'm also very wary of it at the same time, because, you know, what we see online is very different from what the news media and our politicians might tell the public. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Trudeau says, oh, well, the unvaccinated are stopping supply chains. It's them who are stopping supply chains. And that's exactly why we need to round them up. You know what I mean? Like who knows how this will be used by the news media and politicians. I'm hoping this will be a bargaining tool that actually leads to our politicians stepping down from these mandates. That's obviously the best case scenario, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Spencer Fernando was making the case that like the same thing that you were talking about just at the beginning. So I think that fundamentally, if this impacts your everyday Canadian, there will be a reckoning. I don't know that it's going to force political maneuvers, because the whole calculation is that Trudeau is going to be able to move the blame from himself to a desired group. And it's the speculation, Spencer Fernando, is that it's going to be the unvaccinated who bear the brunt. Like it's the unvaccinated's fault. They're selfish. They're whatever. But I don't think people are going to be open to hearing that when it's like, no, like your policies did this. Your policies created this situation, not the unvaccinated people. And so I don't know that still, even with that, I don't know that people will have a coherent enough voice to get the political movement that you're talking about, right? Just because we haven't yet, you know what I mean? We've had cross country protests previously, and now I don't know how the cross country protest lines up with the trucker strike. And again, I don't know the scope of the trucker strike, so I don't know exactly what we're looking at. Even just losing, say we lose 30% of what was in the stores previously, like that's even a big hit. You know what I mean? So
no, well, I mean, if enough truckers do this, it's, you know, I've heard that the average gas station and the average grocery store has about 3 days of stock on hand. So like if they strike and continue to strike, it's not like, oh, there'll be less stock. It's like, you know, like stock will stop. Right. And like, that's, like I said, definitely a powerful bargaining tool, but it's like, what happens next? What if the politicians don't budge? And, you know, I've said this for years now when we talk about the bigger, wider macro scope of geopolitics. And it's like, you know, globalists like chaos. They love chaos because then they're able to kind of swoop in with their own policies or swoop in with their own solutions or what have you to, you know, make peace again. Right. And if there's anything that we've noticed is like the chaos of the virus, the chaos of all this, it's been like, oh, we have some more rules for you now to solve this.
Well, somebody was speculating that Trudeau would swoop in with the Emergency Measures Act, you know, to take over and to solve the problem. And it's, I mean, my comparison is how did they do with negotiating the USMCA? How did they do with, all of the big things that they've had to deal with? We've got crisis layered on crisis, and they're increasing immigration, right? We've got a housing crisis and they're saying, you know what solves housing crises? Increased immigration, baby. Right.
Sure.
Like, so.
And I think that like a misconception that people sometimes have when it comes to this is they'll say, oh, well, you know, Trudeau can't get anything done, you know, like, or like they struggle to anticipate the initial spread of the virus back in 2020, which is true. However, you know, when they want to get stuff done, they can get stuff done and they do it very quickly. Like,
well, they've done a
just,
bunch of,
just look at how quickly that they passed like Bill C-10 and these mandates, for example. When they want to get stuff done, they get it done.
They did C4, Bill C4, which is the anti-conversion therapy bill. But if you read it, like you can't counsel somebody to be heterosexual. It's a monstrosity. But they did that
satanic bill, by the way.
Yeah, they did that through unanimous consent. And like, where are the conservatives? Where are the people who are supposed to be saying, wait a second, that's a little bit strange. That's a little crazy. So yeah, I mean, the things that happen, yeah, you're right. Like Jagmeet Singh and the Bloc Québécois have enabled Justin Trudeau's minority to get quite a lot done legislatively, and we are all suffering for it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about this. Obviously, it is the story, right? Because if this is actually happening, if they're actually putting their nuts on the table to be like, we are striking,
well,
us truckers are striking across the country, that is going to affect everyone. And the one framework I heard is like, you know, get rid of the mandates or starve. Like that is kind of, and like you laugh, but it's like, dude.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm saying like that's one hell of a position to put the public in, because you're betting. It's like putting your kids in a situation that you've been told you're not allowed to do and doing it anyway. Now your kid has to fight your battle, even though you should be fighting the battle. Does that make sense? It's like you're putting the public at risk.
Who is putting the public at risk?
Everybody's putting the public at risk, because I've said this from the start too. If our supply chain breaks down, it's hard to put back together, because it's like, it's kind of, well, when you talk about the supply chain, the government can't put that back together. I mean, I guess they could in a short-term situation print enough money to put together some kind of supply chain, right? You could get the army in to drive trucks and blah blah blah. They could do that, but to put together a global just-in-time supply chain takes time. It's complex.
Right.
Breaking it in the way it's been broken takes a whole lot of really big whacks with a really big wrench, right? Like you have to break this on purpose. And is this action accelerating that goal? Is this action going to achieve the result we want? What is the result we want? Right. What is the result they want?
Mm-hmm.
Is this, you know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like it's not, I'm not saying it's poorly thought out, because what do we know for sure? There are American firms who are shutting down their Canadian cross-border operations. That is going to impact the availability of things like fresh produce, fresh vegetables, and things like that. So that is going to impact the frozen produce. Now, layered on top of that is domestic deliveries. Are domestic deliveries going to be striking in sympathy, or are they going to continue delivering whatever food they can get from whatever warehouses they can get? Now, I mean, you can get chips, there's a whole bunch of things that are produced in Ontario, right? Like there's lots of things. I don't know if we're 70% food secure here or what, but we've got milk, we've got eggs, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. But if we don't have any transportation for those things, I mean, drive out to your local farms, y'all, like, because that may be the next thing that we're at. The next place we're
and
at.
Dude, not everyone can do that, obviously.
Right, of course, right. Downtown Toronto relying on the TTC. Good luck, like ouch, right? Because if there's no trucks coming in with food, how long before that gets real ugly, right? And is that on Justin Trudeau? Is Justin Trudeau willing to put that at risk? But will Justin Trudeau bear the brunt of that, or will that be anti-vaxxers' fault or truckers' fault? Or
and this is kind of what scares me the most about this whole situation. It's like, and I'm not disagreeing with the tactics necessarily, because like I don't really, obviously I would like the mandates to be reversed like everyone else would, everyone else who is sane and a normal person wants. But you're almost banking on Trudeau of all people to be like, I was wrong. And he has never done that. He has never done that.
See, they can, I think, okay, here's advice. My advice, maybe, if we want this done, give the people that are in charge, like a way to save face, like declare a COVID victory. We can all agree that, we've done everything that we can do. We've succeeded in doing everything we can do. Give them that escape route. And then, right. I mean, I want accountability, man. Right. But if they want to save public face, give them that when they have to mea culpa and roll this back. And then, like there needs to be investigations. What did you know? When did you know? Why did you know that locking people down the fourth time was going to result in this wonderful political result, or this wonderful medical result? Like, what goal were they going for? Find out all of that out.
And that's a good point, because in order to reverse that decision, it really goes counter to the narrative that they've been selling for 2 years now, which is like, this is super dangerous virus, and it's the vaccines is the only thing that blah, blah, blah. So for them to kind of eat their words and reverse this, I don't know. And like the worst case scenario too would be, Trudeau kind of goes on TV and he's like, yeah, these are anti-vaxxers. They are starving you. They are the one, like, just escalating everything. Right.
I can see, and I'm chuckling, not because that would be funny, but I'm chuckling because I could totally see him doing it. Like, it's totally something that would be in the wheelhouse of these people to do. Which is
just to be very clear, like, this person is at war with their own citizens. Right. Like, like that's you could kind of the situation. That's how the truckers look at it. The truckers are saying, if you don't repeal these vaccine mandates to cross the border, we're not doing anything. That's basically what they're saying. And so is Trudeau going to climb down from that cliff in 3 days, 4 days, 10 days? Are they going to put in contingency plans to because I heard about something like this in Australia. The truckers were saying, we're going to bring this country to its knees, and then nothing happened. Right? Did you hear about, like, the I
I was
didn't
asked.
know, but that's a great thing to look at and to see what
Yeah.
actually happened, right?
Yeah, well, it didn't. I mean, it didn't pan out, and it wasn't because the truckers didn't try. I don't think, but they suppressed all the news getting out of there, according to some people, I guess. So there was all sorts of stuff, but ultimately, there was a few days of dicey grocery stores, and then everything kind of just went back to normal, and nobody talked about it again. And Australia is still very locked down. So
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know much about the trucking industry. I don't know the infrastructure of like their unions or how well connected their unions are. If do they have a union? Like, is that
yeah, I don't know.
because like right now, what we're basing it on is kind of what we're showing you, which is like this website, this GoFundMe, a few TikToks of truckers
Yep.
talking about this, that, or the other. And
Yep.
it's like it sounds like a nice story that hopefully could reverse the decision and like a good bargaining chip.
Yep.
But like you said, if we destroy the supply chain, it's not easy to just like get back going again.
Yeah. Well.
And it's the middle of the winter, like it's
Yeah.
it sounds like more chaos. And if there's anybody, by the way, who would be unaffected by the chaos and almost welcome the chaos, it'd be a psychopath like Justin Trudeau. Because like you think he's going to be unaffected by food shortages? You think other Liberal MPs are going to be concerned about their constituents complaining about this, that, or the other? No, let's just vilify the unvaccinated for 2 full weeks, and then
Well, that's what Omar did.
everyone
Oh,
will be starving, and then we'll bring in
mm.
new rules to round them up. Round up the who knows.
Yeah.
Who knows is all I'm
That's
saying.
what Omar said. If the conservatives wanted to prolong the pandemic, then like because they're not willing to demand that everybody be vaccinated. It's dangerous, and then we're going to prolong the pandemic this way, and they spin everything, right? It's wild.
It's crazy. And the scariest thing about all this too, that I think is important just to emphasize is, we have a certain perception of reality. A bunch of people might have their own perception of reality, but what we've learned since the pandemic is, well, a lot of people derive their reality from what they see on TV.
Mhm.
They get all of their directives from what they see on TV. A deadly virus everywhere. If you don't wear a mask, you're going to die. If you don't do this, you're going to die. Like that's the implication. They don't say that, but that is the implication, and people buy it
Yep.
wholesale. So that and when the news media in our country has that type of power, it's like doesn't really matter what's happening in reality because they're gonna say whatever they're gonna want to say to influence people how they want to influence them. And hang on to your hats, folks.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Hang on to your hats. We'll quickly. We're already at 20 minutes here, so let's just kind of quickly swoop through these next 2 topics.
Sure, man.
Boosted athletes. Brazilian soccer player dies suddenly at age 23. This is not an isolated incident of an athlete, somebody who has an incredible cardiovascular system. You could say is a poster child of health. There's got to be a better way to say that.
One of the things that I think is kind of telling here is like athletes are high performing, right? They're getting their heart rates up. Soccer players, we're seeing a lot of injuries in soccer players. And so like what we don't see is that's maybe hidden because we're not so active, but if we had to be active, right, are the everyday people who did whatever they had to do. And maybe we would see more instances of this. Like, I don't know if I'd love to see the numbers on heart attacks after the snowstorm. I wonder if it's higher than normal or lower than normal, right? Because more people are exerting themselves and the numbers according to Ontario, right?
This is the data that we would like to see. Can we see this data, please?
Yeah. Well,
kind of
and I mean, among other things, right? There's so many questions, but YouTube, I forgot to mention, we should have talked about this in the green room. We should maybe have chosen a different topic because YouTube is getting real sensitive with my stuff, and they slapped me with a strike like yesterday. So I don't think we've contravened any violations at this point in time, but we could go on to the next topic.
Yeah, sure. And just a final thought on that, like, it's crazy how when it comes to the jabs and potential side effects that no one wants to talk about, it's so messed up that especially for these poor athletes who, and like I have the other one on screen here, Swiss marathon record holder and Olympic athlete Fabian Schlumpf.
It's an unfortunate last name.
It's yeah. But she's talking about, hey, unfortunately, I'm just being slowed down by a heart muscle inflammation. I'm just being slowed down by a heart muscle inflammation for some reason.
Pish posh.
But it's like it sucks because in the context of theirs, or in the context of, you know, inculcation, whatever the hell it's called. I'm trying to think of another word other than the V word. It's misinformation. It's like this heart inflammation. That's misinformation. Oh, that's your experience? Yeah, your experience, your reality is illegal. Is misinformation.
It violates our policy.
It's extreme gaslighting. There's another one that we have on here. All right, let's move on to scared teachers in BC. So school in BC's interior closes after teachers refuse to work due to high number of unmasked students.
Those unmasked kids are terrifying, aren't they? Holy smokeronis.
What are we supposed to feel about this, Mark?
Well, we're supposed to feel like the unmasked children are monsters, right? I think that's the push, right? And well, in the UK, there's all sorts of different rules for, you know, face coverings and things like that. And I don't want to get into, you know, all of that because YouTube's so sensitive about that. But I think that it's interesting that the unions are pivoting from using COVID itself to now kids who are accessing their medical rights, their medical ability to breathe freely, or whatever you want to call it. Now those kids are bargaining chips for the teachers, and we're seeing them back away from their job. Are we watching the death of the public school system in real time while we simultaneously watch the death of the healthcare system? Are there other systems that are dying right in front of our eyes? The Charter of Freedoms.
I feel like not maybe necessarily the death of these systems, but certainly the loss of faith, or the loss of faith that people might have in these institutions. Trust. But I feel like right before the pandemic, there was this big push for teacher strikes, right? Was it? Right? Because they wanted more pay.
Yeah, right? Ontario had massive teacher strikes. There was all sorts. I have young kids. And so in Southwestern Ontario, there were a whole bunch of job action threatened and blaming Doug Ford for it. So there's a long tradition of using kids as pawns within the context of politics.
Right. And I feel like what's common between the healthcare industry in Canada and also the public school system is there's kind of been this real inflating of the ego of both teachers and like healthcare workers, where it's like, we are the future, like we are teachers, like what would you do without us? You know,
I think
that whole mentality has already kind of existed in the public school system. And that's really over the past 2 years during the pandemic. It's like they are really injecting the egos of like any healthcare worker, like hard, where it's like, you are essential. You are a god, basically. So don't forget that. And you better act like that. And now it's at the point where and they're so sensitive to any person who comes through their doors, where it's like, oh my God, we're overwhelmed, and It's like it's been like this for years. Don't you remember that? It's like now that your ego's all pumped up, you have so much to say about it all of a sudden.
Well, the thing, I worked in schools, and I think that there are a lot of good teachers out there, but there are teachers out there as well. Like I've been in staff rooms where there are teachers out there who they don't hate the kids, but they've got an us versus them.
They don't hate the kids, but okay.
But they've got an us versus them mentality. Like we can't let those kids get an upper hand on us. And it's just like, it's so icky. Yeah. It's very, I mean, icky is not the right word, but it was kind of not nice to sit in those staff rooms to hear teachers talk about kids. And it's like, hold on, guys, like you guys are supposed to be, even if you don't like the kid, you're supposed to be helping the kid. Right. Like, I understand venting, but
I think that's a good point. And this is kind of steps into almost the spiritual framework, which is like, you should look at everything as an opportunity, not an obligation. Right. And it's almost like these teachers have this like, oh,
Yeah.
We have to deal with these children.
Well,
and
so
it's
if you've got
that
the
is not the right attitude.
right, if you've
at
got
all.
the broader society saying, who's to blame, right? Who's killing grandma. It's those unvaccinated, unmasked people, right? Who's doing this, and they're pumping up what you were talking about earlier, pumping up people, everybody in society, with these ideas that those people are other people that should be,
Right.
treated in a different way. And so we've fostered that, and our kids are bearing the brunt of that. And now that's manifesting as job action. And I don't think that I'm sure there are individual teachers who disagree with it and who aren't speaking up, because if you speak up, I mean, you're going to get your head chopped off. They're going to be like, listen, buddy, you don't belong in this school. We know that, get out type deal. And you're going to lose your job. You lose your pension. And like, you have to make a serious, consideration of all this. But there are teachers who don't agree, but are going along to get along. And there are teachers who are totally on board. And it's like, we've got to get those kids, we got to save, like almost evangelical, right? We've got to save those kids. And it's like, and then the opportunists that are taking advantage of this situation to push for smaller class sizes or mandatory masks in BC or what, I don't know what, but they're trying to turn the society to a point where demanding children do this to save the adults is somehow seen by the public as acceptable, and it is absolutely not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
It's the opposite. It's like sacrificing children for this illusion of safety. Yes. And I want to know, these teachers who are afraid of unmasked students, are you the ones that think everyone needs to get their jab as well? Because it's like,
I don't think they exist.
No, but again, it's like this weird sort of, well, does the jab work? It works so well.
Well, we can't hold on. We can't talk about this YouTube.
That they need to keep using the masks, right? It's just kind of weird, because it's like, if these teachers are real, it's like, so wait, you want kids to wear masks indefinitely?
That's the point. That's what they want.
And it's like, that implication is
scary, man.
I'm speechless. If
Yeah.
We are not the same. I'm trying to picture like sitting down with this person and like having a civil conversation with them. And
it's not about that. It's not about the individual kids. They're not looking at it as individual kids. It's using the kids.
It's about them. Let's be real.
It's about power. It's about power. It's about power.
Sure,
Fundamentally, it's about power.
Sure.
And leveraging the edge, leveraging the kind of rapidly shrinking public sentiment that this is an acceptable thing, and saying like, those bad kids led to us, withholding their education. How dare they? We're not the ones here. Don't think about that for too long.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for watching Speaking Moistly. We're doing our best to improve the show as much as possible here, so please leave a comment down below. Should it be tighter? Should we have better lighting? What do you think? Let us know in the comments.
Like and subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Oh.
And obviously, speakingmoistly.co. You can see in the corner there. You can find me on Twitter @GDub. It's the same handle on TikTok if you're into that type of thing. What else, Mark? What did I miss?
Not too much, man. You can find me at Mark Peralvis on Twitter, and at CanadaPoly.com for other content of mine, and at CanadaReport.co for other content of mine. And I've not been keeping up with adding content to Speaking Moistly. I'm terrible at that right now. So sorry about that, everyone. But hopefully this one will go up. Do you think? Maybe?
Yeah, this will go up. Yeah. We'll
right.
have the Prime Minister play us out.
Very cool.
Speaking moistly, keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly.